Pachelios dropping out for the night after a hard set of games to cast. His throat's starting to wear out. My name is Daniel Dracos. I'll be swapping over for play-by-play, and joining me as color caster for the night, it's going to be Ryan Frosker and more. This is Misfits versus Fang Gaming. Battle for $5,000. Loser will take home $2,000. Not too bad. And we're already in the picks and bans. Casson and Urgot taking off the table. Callista and Rek'Sai. Responses on the other side.
Kind of curious to see Callista still being very heavily in favor. Obviously, I'm new to this patch. I haven't been able to play for a few days. Daniel, we saw Callista being played in the last game by Lot, I believe. How have the changes to her on 5.9, the fact that she doesn't get her martial pose on backpedal, work for her now?
So the thing is, we haven't really got to see those changes affect too much. In small skirmishes, it definitely has made a difference for a lot. A few of his deaths, I think, at least one of his deaths in the previous games that he's played Callista has negatively affected him. However, most of the time, honestly, when their team gets Callista, they usually get so far ahead in the early game that they're not jumping backward at any point. They're always jumping forward. So,
but can she just not jump backward anymore?
No, she jumps back. She used to have a 50% range increase on
so
the jump, or 25% range increase on her jumps backwards. But now it's even. So the range is the same now, regardless of which direction she chooses to jump in.
I was pulling up the patch notes. I was like, I should probably read these before we get into this game. I saw it. I was like, wow, that's intense. But it is going to be Cassiopeia, the last and final ban, as well as Jinx, and a first lock for Sivir.
Now, this Sivir pick is something that we've seen in the hands of Stixxay, and I like this one for Misfits because Stixxay is the substitute. You know, Jeebus is the new AD carry for the team, not able to play right now, so they're just subbing in Stixxay, borrowing him from CLG Black, and this champion, a lot of the pressure taken off Stixxay, can always use that on the hunt to engage. And what are your thoughts on Sivir in the most recent patch? Have you gotten to experience her very much?
I mean, frankly, coming from MSI, Sivir was a big pick for the tournament, as well as Callista and Jinx. Not surprising to see her first picked, especially because Callista's taken off the board. I mean, the obvious answer then is that Fang Gaming are going to look towards Lucian just because he can excel against her in the lane fakes because of her spell shield doesn't really help much against Lucian. On the other side, though, it is going to be Azir and Thresh. Azir, another big power pick that we saw kind of take the stage in MSI. The other one, of course, being Cassiopeia, which is banned.
And Golden Glue in his wins yesterday against Cloud9 to make it up to this final matchup was using this Azir pick, and he was absolutely lethal, showed himself to be incredibly confident, and I believe you were casting with me when we watched him kind of go a little bit too ham, fall a little bit behind, make some poor choices, but he's kind of tempered that aggression now. He's kind of figured out how to play this pick better, and we'll have to see how he does it here, but already two very different team comps. It looks like we have kind of this all-in rundown comp with Gnar and an interesting Janna pickup here.
Oh, yeah, a last-second substitution for Janna over Nautilus. Now, Nautilus is typically the favorite support, the big quote-unquote OP, or definitely a very big power pick and prominent pick. Taking Janna, that's a very weak lane phase, so it suggests to me that Misfits are looking for a lane swap already, because if I suspect it is going to be a Lucian that Latman will take down to that bottom lane, Lucian Thresh is going to have a heyday with Janna and Sivir. You're pretty much, you're going to get bullied out unless you can keep the creep wave pushed, because you need to be able to use Janna's E, her Eye of the Storm, offensively rather than defensively to make any sort of effect in that lane.
And we'll have to see what Latman picks here to see exactly how this lane matchup is going to be defined. But the big interesting thing for me, Thresh has been a very large priority in picks and bans against Fang Gaming. Baby very only recently picked up Thresh, but has proven himself to be incredibly strong in this champion. Of course, the downside is going up against Ramelia. Ramelia, the Thresh princess, the queen of this champion, absolutely, without a doubt, the strongest challenger player on that champion. So should be pretty comfortable in this matchup, and nonetheless, Stixxay is going to have the spell shield to mitigate that. So no AD carry locked in yet, and it's interesting that they're holding out here this long on it. Do you think it makes sense to last pick this AD carry?
Just grabbing priorities. I mean, the jungler hadn't been shown for either side, so obviously with Rek'Sai banned, although Gragas was still available on the board, deciding that they wanted to procure that Nunu. Nocturne. I always want to do Nautilus. Nocturne and LeBlanc, now the hover for Alex and Alberto.
And so far, this team comp from Fang Gaming kind of harkens back to what they were playing yesterday. You've got some standard.
It's an evil lock-in. I'm sorry.
Oh, I see it. No, I know. I mean, You're a Clear
Hmm.
Love fan. We know. Everyone who knows you knows. And this is I mean, a slight variation, I think, for Alberto, but he did play this yesterday, and it was absurd. Keep in mind, yesterday it was paired with that TF for Alex Each in the mid lane. So the ganks with LeBlanc, a lot more damage, maybe a little bit harder because they don't have the stun card for the guaranteed initiation there, but that is absolutely insane combo here. I'm
Hey,
wondering
look,
what Frank Fang can do.
it's Lucian. Hmm. Surprise. No, let's talk about. I'm sorry, that was an awful joke. Let's talk about Eve and kind of why it works against Nunu. So, again, speaking to MSI, when interviewing and talking to EDG, Clearlove, and Aaron, their coach, afterwards, the idea behind Lucian, or excuse me, Evelyn into Nunu and why it worked for as a counter for EDG is because when you think about Nunu, it's all about counter jungling, and obviously this is very reliant on information because you don't want to counter jungle into three people. I mean, ideally you want to walk over there. I mean, Nunu he has the power where he can just walk in, steal your buff, and you just have to sit there and cry about it. Um, but obviously, it's very hard to counter juggle against Eve because you need to ward so much more effectively to get information about where she is. Typically, what teams do is instead of investing into pink wards, which obviously can be an answer, although it's very expensive to do it that way, you ward her camps because she has to come out of stealth to do her camps, and then you react with that information and play, safely on whatever side of the map that she happens to appear on. But obviously, the idea is this Nunu can't just walk in freely because she could be anywhere.
Well, let's before we really look at the in-game interactions, before we see how these guys execute it, let's take a look at these team compositions and the differences in the build here. Obviously, very aggressive with us on the hunt on the sides of Misfits. To me, it seems like it's all about the early game, and on the opposite side, more of a late game with this Nunu kind of Azir synergy. What are your thoughts about the early team fights? When do we expect these teams to kind of be strongest and to kind of try to capitalize on these scaling advantages?
Um, I mean, obviously, we're going to have decent late game scaling. I'm going to give it over to Frank Fan Gaming just because Azir is an absolute nightmare in the late game, especially when it comes to sieging towers. Again, we always talk about how Jinx is most notably like the tower sieging AD carry, but Lucian can do so very well with his passive and burning down towers and making sure that he gets the correct amount of blows, especially in conjunction or tandem, I guess, with Nunu Blood Boil. So where these teams are going to fight, where they both find their power spikes, is actually in the mid game. That's going to be super explosive across the board. As the game tips later and later, I'm going to give a slight edge to Frank Fang Gaming, especially for Azir to start getting up and going.
And we're gonna have to see if Frank Fan Gaming can execute, if they can haro this Eve early game. As we saw Alberto just create such a huge advantage in our matches yesterday versus Legendary. But guys, with 2 minutes left on this spectator delay, head on over to wellplayed.org giveaway if you or slash giveaway if you have not already. Razer giving out a full set of peripherals here, a full set of Chroma peripherals nonetheless, and it's pretty easy to sign up, as simple as following a few people on Twitter, as checking out a few pages on Facebook, and we'll be back with the first game in this best of 5 series, grand finals of Alpha Draft Challenger League. I'm Sifa, I'm with Frost Curran. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back to the AlphaDraft Challenger League. Unfortunately, due to a potential player emergency, no specifics given, it looks like we're going to have a bit of a 5-minute pause here, so we decided we'd talk to you, let you know how we feel about the game, but more importantly, Ross,
Daniel, I've been away. It's been so long since I've gotten to be on an AlphaDraft cast, and I'm just, I really miss it. I feel a little bit rusty. I'm trying to take in the patch notes, and when we saw we were going to have a 5-minute pause, they're like, we should just wait it out. We should just throw on some music. The stream will be fine. I'm like, no, I got this. Mad Max. I could talk about Mad Max. So I just saw this movie. Are you with me, Daniel?
I'm 100% with you. You just saw Mad Max. Tell me more.
Now, you know that I'm a legendary Mario Kart player, yeah?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, you've literally crushed me every time we've played.
I'm a legendary Mario Kart player. I used to play it competitively, fun fact. Double Dash is my title just because there's some Mario Karts where it's too unbalanced, the percentage of times that you get like OP items or like second place chickens, whatever. How this relates is I'm sitting in Mad Max and I'm watching this movie, and if you haven't seen this movie, you have to go see this movie. It's excellent, best movie I've seen all year. It's like Mario Kart, but you light it on fire and you just pump a bunch of steroids into it. That's what that experience is. And then it's like an epileptic nightmare for your eyes. It's awesome. It doesn't sound awesome, but trust me, it's awesome.
Quote it. Put it on a meme, folks. Epileptic nightmare for your eyes, Mad Max. I mean, I've heard nothing but good things about it so far. I'd be excited to see it. It's hard for me because I'm like trying to keep this conversation going, but I just want to focus on the game. But I also want to hear more about Mad Max as we wait for this pause to count down. So like, don't give any spoilers away because I guarantee
No, it's like if Michael Bay and the Joker had a baby, and that baby made a movie and then lit it on fire. That's Mad Max.
I didn't think there could be anything more on fire than a Michael Bay movie, but I guess it's a whole nother level of over-the-top special effects then.
Mm-hmm. It's, to my understanding, it was actually made with very little green screen and little to no CGI, and majority of it is with stunts. And these must be the most well-paid stuntmen in Hollywood because the things that they were asked to do are absurd.
I want to see it now. You've described it vividly to me in between our breaks and like the 6 minutes we've had so far, and so far your movie suggestions have never failed me. So I'll have to see how it works out.
I'd like to say that I have, a good sense of movies. Like I like League of Legends, so obviously I know what things are good, right?
Yeah.
That was
right?
weak. Mm.
Yeah, that was pretty pandery. I'll just pull out my HTC phone and we'll see exactly how that one works.
You know what else I really like, Daniel?
Yeah.
This is okay. I'm waiting for you to respond. Okay.
Oh my god. Oh god, it's gonna be bad, isn't it?
No, it's gonna be really good. I really like to bet money on challenger players in AlphaDraft.
Boom. Great. Let's You guys know.
Do we have any other sponsors?
AlphaDraft. Razer.
Oh, I could be wearing a bunch of headsets right now.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I
own 3. Yeah, Razer peripherals. I have a Black Widow keyboard. I have a Death Adder mouse. They're excellent. Actually, 100% genuinely, a lot of times I know you guys are like, sell out, caster, doing a promo. I really do love Razer peripherals. I've used them for a while. It's weird calling them peripherals. I know that's the official title, but I've used Razer mouse and keyboards for a long time, and they're pretty solid. And I don't know a whole ton about mechanical keyboards, admittedly, but I love the Black Widow that I have, and I love the Death Adder that I have. I think they're excellent for League of Legends. And unless you play World of Warcraft and you need like a bajillion buttons, I would highly recommend Death Adder.
And likewise, you can always tell someone who has a Razer keyboard because you get into that Skype call and everyone's silent for the first 7 seconds. Everyone's typing. It's really obnoxious to be like, hey, I know that clickety-clackety. That's a Razer keyboard.
I know that ear-splitting pain that I feel, and I'm asking you to mute your mic.
It feels so tender to the touch, and it just the response. Your figures are in heaven.
Razer mechanical keyboards single-handedly made push-to-talk the premier option for voice chat. I'm just gonna say that right now.
If only I could type on my Razer keyboard while I watch Mad Max, all of my senses would be in heaven. While I'm using push-to-talk. Hey, we're on pause! We did it! I told you, they didn't think I could do it. I said, you know what? 5 minutes, I've got this. We're in the game.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now Welcome back. This is the final set for AlphaDraft. This best of 5 between Misfits, between Fang Gaming. Everything is on the line for these guys. Challenger Scene Pride, $5,000. A lot riding on this. Starting up for the Misfits, it's going to be RF in the top lane, Alberto in the jungle with that Evelyn pick, Alex Each on LeBlanc in the mid lane, Stixay that substitute, backed up by Ramelia with the Sivir and the Janna on the bottom side.
And on the, purple side, it's going to be Fang Gaming. It's Brand for the win in the top lane on Maokai. 14A taking jungle Nunu this time around. Golden Glue will have Azir in that mid lane, and then Latman and Baby Zeus will be taking Lucian and Thresh, the wife steal bot lane.
I love the wife steal bot lane. We gotta stop calling him Baby Zeus. It's just Baby. It's Baby Eater, different player. Can't use Baby Eater because it's, yeah, little inappropriate. So Baby, we gotta call him Baby. Baby Zeus has gotten like hundreds and hundreds of shout-outs from us. I'm like, wow, Baby Zeus is so good. Baby Zeus is so on point. wrong player, to be fair. But already, early game wards coming out. A lot of vision placed down. No real aggressive starts, though, on either side.
No, and actually fairly standard. The thing that we were talking about in Champion Select is we were curious if Sivir and Janna, Ramelia, and Stixay were going to be looking for a lane swap. Again, it's very hard to lane. Thresh is typically always the answer into a Janna lane, and Janna has to use her shield aggressively if they're going to win the lane or at least come out even. Otherwise, they're just going to get pushed in. It's going to be used defensively to eat like a spell, and it's just going to be a poke war. So not the best case scenario. They do have the tools on Sivir and Janna, though, to deal with wave management and wave control.
We'll have to see if they can execute there. The big point here for this Misfits lineup is they are playing with the substitute. Of course, Intense did leave the team, so Stixay coming in. Jeebus on the way for the team, but not here yet. They may not quite have the synergy necessary. Small trading in the mid lane, and if Stixay can perform is one of the big questions of this match, and there's a lot on the line here, and I mean, $1,000 per player. If he can't win out here, he's going to be losing out on a lot of money.
And the kind of the storyline that we haven't really talked about yet, Sifa, is a lot of people expected this matchup to be between Misfits and Cloud9 Tempest. I mean, it was always kind of this question of Fang Gaming. They looked to be the up-and-coming challenger team, but if they were going to be able to unseat one of these top two teams, especially the fact that Cloud9 Tempest had previous experience in the North American CS. And here we are. It's Fang Gaming in the finals versus Misfits.
And Fang finished with a higher seed by Cloud9 just barely, and it gave them that bye in the first round, and Cloud9 obviously played very strong for seeding to get that matchup versus Fang. Alex Each stealing a little bit of farm, they're getting pretty cheeky, but you're right, it did feel like they were still the underdog despite finishing higher, and now they're really starting to prove themselves here, and if they can take a win off of Misfits, if they can beat them in a best of 5, that has huge implications for the upcoming NACS, and it would be crazy to see here. That hook
likewise,
not so
I know. Well, likewise, I know that some of the coaching staff on Fang has recently been swapped around. I believe they actually have the previous Noble coach.
Yeah, coming in here, Dreamweaver, coaching up that lineup. Pretty smart guy. Haven't got to talk to him too much, but he has some interesting strategies, and it looks like for him right now, from what we've seen in picks and bans, there's a huge emphasis on this Azir for Golden Glue and on this Nunu. And right now in this game, a pretty passive laning phase overall. Really, it's going to be about seeing where Crumbzz goes next.
And typically, games, if he chooses to have a slow start or really just farm up, his laners are so strong that they'll just win the lanes by themselves, and then as soon as Crumbzz gets involved, everything just kind of explodes in this fit of action. The nice thing about Eve, though, is that she causes this paranoia around the map because we don't necessarily know where she is at any time, so players almost have to play cautiously like she could be there. So it does offer a little bit of a breathing room for lanes like Sivir and Janna, like this Gnar.
We'll have to see how exactly that's utilized. Of course, Evelyn's still present in the mid lane. Not really finding a gank opportunity quite yet, but Stixay and Ramelia, you talked about needing to use that Eye of the Storm aggressively, and it looks like they've been pretty successful with it so far. The CS not really in their favor. Stixay suffering a little bit, but also doing reasonably well in these trades, not losing out too much, but Nunu's on the way in. We could see an initial gank. Snowball could come out here. Exhaust going down. Stixay flashing out. They're moving in with the Blood Boil. Will they find first blood? Heal being used. Spell shield, but is it too late? The hook coming in as well. Will they follow up with Ramelia? She has flash, she has ignite. Is it going to be enough? It looks like a double kill for Fang Gaming. And a quick swing in power. They find themselves with a 1K gold lead 5 minutes in.
The consume right there for 14A to take health back and then flash out of the tower to survive that beautiful dive right there. Not quite sure what Remilly and Stixie were thinking, being so overextended in their lane, especially because Alberto had just shown himself mid lane, so 14A knew for sure that it was going to be a 3v2 on that gank.
Alberto, though, may try to get something back in the top lane, but of course, huge praise coming in here for 14A. This guy, known as that more bloodthirsty, more solo queue style player when we started, and we were impressed with his Nidalee without a doubt, but the rest of his champions seem pretty lackluster, and now here, he's really figured out how to play this Nunu and is executing well, but Alberto coming in on the backside. Will they find the stun into Brandon for the win? Brandon for the win in trouble. Maokai running out of escape options, does have the flash, is going to make it out of that one. Miss Alberto, unable to turn that one in his favor. We're going to have to see what he does next.
Nicely played by Brandon for the win. Likewise, 14A Step Sword looks for the deep ward. It will be a pink ward inside of Alberto's jungle. So we'll see if he'll play off of any sort of information he'll gather with that vision there. Kind of curious though, Brandon for the win technically shouldn't have been that far forward, knowing that they saw Crumbzz in that mid lane originally, so he knew that Eve was going to be playing on that top side of the map.
Maybe a bit of nerves here coming out for these players and these slight mistakes back and forth. As there's a lot of pressure on these guys in this game, as we talked about, a lot of implications for the challenger scene, a decent amount of prize money as well, and more than anything, just kind of pride in his new lineups and really trying to make these team compositions work, as most of these guys have been put together pretty recently in the overall schemes of things when we think about more long-standing kind of LCS lineups.
Things kind of slowing down right now. Alberto hasn't gotten a ton of success off in his ganks, did burn his Ignite. Kind of curious that running Eve, Smite Ignite, you said he ran it yesterday. Did he run the same set of summoners?
Smite Ignite as well in that other game. Yeah, it was incredibly aggressive. It paired very well, if we're being honest, with that TF mid lane and that gold card. It doesn't look like it's working quite as well with this LeBlanc.
You have the engagement though.
Yeah, we do indeed, as I'm sitting here still stuck in color from my previous cast, just kind of watching that one go down. Latman taking a huge chunk of health there. Eve not able to find the follow-up, but I do not believe Alberto was spotted out, so should be able to walk in again if he wants to force this gank, but maybe time to pay a visit to the mid lane. Alex Each, as expected, as he always does, out farming now a 10 CS lead, and we'll have to see if he can keep growing this one. Golden Glue struggling to keep up.
I want to talk again about Remilly and Stixie though. So the fact that even though they were a kill down because 14A got a fantastic gank bottom early game, they're still playing very forward, very aggressive in their lane, and they're winning on a lot of these trades. And this is what we said, kind of the win condition for the Sivir Janna lane, is if they're able to use the shield aggressively. Here we go. So we see Stixie get shield, and immediately it forces Latman and Baby to back off.
Definitely cannot afford to trade with the shielded up Sivir, especially when their Boomerang Blade is off of cooldown. And it looks like both teams actually stealing each other's blues here. They retain control over this area, so not a whole lot gained on either side. Azir moving up to the top lane, but no major plays towards any part of the map yet. Golden Blue trying to find himself safely back to lane. His toes going to head-head. And RF and Brandon for the win actually completely even on the top side. So surprisingly, the lane to launch is actually this bottom side matchup with the substitute Stixie performing pretty darn well so far, especially as a newer player to this lineup.
Alberto was just spotted out on a ward on his Raptor camp. Of course, the Raptor buff has helped him clear that out, but Latman and Baby should know that Crumbzz is around this bottom side or the mid side of the map, so see how they react here, especially as he comes in for a gank.
And it seems like after yesterday's game, Fang Gaming have prepared a strategy for this. We saw yesterday they did put a decent emphasis on deep wards, but the locations have quite frankly changed a lot. They've warded up just about every single jungle camp here, hoping to spot out that Evelynn. Oh, Brandon for the win, going in though. Meganar, still just that tank fight. We may not see too much here, but Alex Each might be able to get something back on the mid lane. Flash in, the distortion, a quick pickup. Grabbing something back for himself in the mid lane, already leading in CS, now with a kill to his name, and a steadily building gold lead as he finds himself about 600 gold ahead, only 9 minutes in.
And I feel like this is always the case of Alex every time we see him in the lane phases. Not only will he find these solo kills, but even on champions where he maybe doesn't have the most kill pressure, like a Ziggs or something, he'll find absurd CS discrepancies. And that just causes him to itemize and power up faster than his enemy mid laner.
Maybe taking a little bit of harass here, but you're right, Alex Each just such a confident player, and in a lot of matchups, it feels like he just outclasses his opponent. This is, I mean, Season 2 god of mid lane. This guy just has so much experience over a lot of these younger players.
The issue, though, that I've always thought with Alex, especially in his identity within Misfits, is that he doesn't necessarily translate his power into roams or impacting the map. He'll always beat his opponent 1v1, or at least the majority of the time, especially in the challenger scene, but it doesn't transition into top power, into bottom tower. Very rarely will he look to kind of roam around the map and impact his other lanes.
How do you think that affects him on this LeBlanc pick? Do you think LeBlanc needs to roam, or can Alex just sit in this mid lane and just continue to pressure out Golden Glue here?
I mean, he can continue to pressure, and that's typically what I would expect him to do. I mean, LeBlanc's going to be looking for picks, so it's much more about setting up your vision and making sure that... I mean, for LeBlanc to find successful picks, you have to set up around the vision, and so you need, I guess, more people. You know what I'm saying? Like, the jungler and the support have to come in and help clear way for that.
Definitely. Well, Golden Glue taking a lot of harass here. Alberto waiting off to the side. They can be sure that he's in that general area. At least they are probably suspicious. That paranoia, as you described it, when Eve is on the map, playing off for them. And on the bottom side, we saw the culling used up and the hook missing, as Misfits kind of just dodging out what they need to get the advantage here. Alberto now finding his way on the bottom side.
But just look at how cautious Latman and Baby are playing. So they know that the wave is pushing into them, so obviously there's no need to be that far forward because the experience and the gold is coming that way as the creep line moves up. But just, you know, they're not going to waste their time stepping forward looking for possible trades at all just because they don't see Alberto on the map. So this is what we're talking about when we say that paranoia. The fact that it causes these players to say, you know what, instead of looking for a trade like I normally would, I'm just going to stand back and I'm going to wait for the farm to come to me.
A smart play from them too, because as you said, that E pick can be anywhere, and Crumbzz, or Alberto rather, has been very diligent about clearing out a lot of this vision. Now has a pink ward for himself as well, and interestingly enough, picking up the Warrior enchantment here. And now I haven't seen a whole ton of Eve, but what are your thoughts on the Warrior enchantment versus something like Magus or something like Cinderhold?
Depending on what he itemizes, I mean, obviously it tells that he's looking to be the carry of his team, which, if you look across the team, because they're taking Sivir is typically considered a low damage AD carry comparatively to hyper carries, but hold on a second.
We do see the engage here. Alberto finding that agony as agony embrace as he goes in there. Gonna get the disengage though. Golden Glue more than happy to throw into Sand Shoulder to dissuade any further action, but Alberto will burn that ignite, not getting a whole lot from there. And as he said it, Nunu can walk into 3 people and can just as easily walk out. Just blood boil, just a quick wandering his way out of that fight.
Going the Warrior enchantment, the interesting thing about Misfits' composition is they have so many damage threats pretty much across the board. So it's not even just like a triple threat composition, it's like a quadruple threat composition, especially when you factor in Janna with that, just because her shield is going to give effectively a free BF sword. So it's kind of interesting. We'll see if Alberto and Crumbzz, or Alberto or Crumbzz, if he gets rolling enough gold, enough kills to kind of sustain that, and if maybe they don't pay for lack of tankiness down the line.
We'll have to see. We did see him itemize, interestingly enough, the Triforce yesterday, as Alex Each just takes a huge chunk out of Golden Glue's health bar. Golden Glue can't afford to make another misstep like that. He has heal, but Alex Each can easily match it with that ignite, of course. In the top lane, we do see Brandon for the win have to burn that flash once again, so kind of on his back foot here, and you can see that manifested in the CS differential once again. So Misfits, we saw them kind of show weakness yesterday against Legendary as they did drop a game, but one thing you got to be sure of is, as individual farmers at least, they're doing phenomenally this game. A decent lead in the top lane, a massive lead in the mid lane, almost 40 CS for Alex each, and if they keep stacking, this alone has been keeping them in the game, really, despite the kill difference.
I mean, frankly, if your lanes across the board win on their own, there's no need to have superior strategy or even a matured sense of strategy, which isn't the case. With Misfits, we have seen pretty matured calls because obviously they're flanked by veterans like Crumbzz, like Alex Each. The reason I bring that up is, especially as we see this dragon going down, Fang Gaming has showed a very high level of matured strategy in different compositions, especially for the challenger scene.
We do see that Alberto and the rest of the team responding on the top side. RF will be that Mega Gnar momentarily, trying to get the kill. Gnar into the wall, grabbing that one back. A quick response on the top side of the map from Misfits. We saw that dragon go down on the bottom side, but will they be able to grab this tower or follow it up with anything else?
Looks like they're actually just going to take the kill gold as well as the extra experience for RF. The kill did go to Alex, and we were just talking about how Alex typically doesn't get around on the map or apply his pressure through roam.
And this is I feel like, as we've watched AlphaDraft Challenger League, the nice thing about the league format is we've got to watch these teams develop. Alex each developing a taste for blood as he goes in once again on gold and blue. But he's been roaming a lot more. Could be in trouble, though. Or the Emperor's Divide being used, they're not going to get too much, and we've seen that one work out pretty well for Alex each in the past, that distortion. Pretty much the perfect ability to stop the Emperor's Divide.
Any champion that can get on top of Vizier is typically going to be a soft counter, at very least, to MZ, Cassidon, LeBlanc. It's these champions that are low mobility, long range, that Azir is able to keep at a distance and abuse with his superior range that really face problems when looking down Azir.
Here's the big thing. The gold is very even right now. The dragon advantage, of course, in the favor of Fang Gaming, but the big item to look at is right now Xeach's pocket. It's going to be that Medjai's Soul Stealer. 15 minutes in, he's gone for this. This feels like a lot of pressure he's putting on himself to perform with an itemization choice like this.
And also went second item into Sightstone as well. So we talked about how, you know, picking up a damage threat as opposed to going to the Cinderhulk, so he's not going to get the added bonus. Ooh, hold on though. Stixie caught in the bot lane.
On the hunt, coming out to save his life, pulling on the backside. Not going to get too much. They will get the flash there, but it's traded for the exhaust of Thresh as well as the rest of their offensive cooldowns. And now Latman pretty free to push this one in, at least until Vermillion shows up. Oh, massive chunk of damage. Gold and blue. They go down once again. Alex each getting those chains and grabbing a killing spree. And it feels like every time there's a little bit of action on any point of the map, there's an instant response from the opposite side.
I was just going to talk about good guy Minion right there, blocking the majority of that culling from Latman to save Stixie's life. And then we see Alex picking up that solo kill in that mid lane. And this is kind of the danger for Golden Glue, especially as a traditional mage in the mid lane, that he can't go out into the side and walk into a bush if he doesn't know exactly where Alex is, because LeBlanc's going to act very much like a Syndra. She's going to set up a pink ward, she's going to stand in a bush, and she's going to wait for you to rotate into an area that she controls a vision, and she's just going to delete you off the map. I guarantee Golden Glue will not make that mistake again.
And this is Alex each kind of just outperforming Golden Glue in the mid lane, and while we saw Golden Glue, quite frankly, outperformed Hisui in a lot of engages yesterday. It looks like he's not able to quite go toe-to-toe with Alex each, especially on a much weaker early game pick like Azir. And Alex each, I mean, I feel like every time we see him, he picks up a new champion, but he's, of course, no stranger to assassins. And even at his prime, he was playing in a control mage meta, and we saw him play Orianna, I believe, in the first week, and just play that like an assassin too. So I feel like this guy can get solo kills on anything. He is so confident in his trades.
Well, the other thing, though, is Golden Glue is actually much more an assassin player than a controlled mage. Not that he can't play it, because obviously when he did not sub, but start for Dignitas, or excuse me, Team Dignitas in the LCS, he was playing a lot of Orianna, but traditionally he was known as a kind of a Yasuo player, having more of that bloodlust mentality, go for the kills. So very similar philosophies as far as these two mid laners are concerned.
Especially in these 1v1 skirmishes, but of course it's working out pretty well for Alex each right now, and I don't think there's going to be a whole lot for Golden Glue to do except for back off and kind of wait to farm out the differential here. Of course, Alex each clearing out a little bit of vision, or trying to. Berto waiting on the bottom side. It looks like he may have been spotted as he is pinged down. They could be collapsing on him. They are. They're going to see if they can try to find this one. Agony's Embrace going to miss there. They're trying to disengage with the Monsoon. Brandon for the win. Use the Righteous Glory to get back in. Oh, Nunu with a beautiful ultimate. Stixie pulled back into the team and gonna get taken down. Alex each on the backside trying to find his way in, but there are 5 healthy members of Fang Gaming pushing down the bot lane. There are no options for them to contest here, and a beautiful catch and a beautiful read on Alberto's location. He was not even spotted out by a pink ward. They just guessed, and it worked out so well.
Gorgeous absolute 0 from 14am right there was certainly the centerpiece for that fight, and with it, it's not like they just got a couple of picks, but they transitioned it into a tower, so they will tie up the towers. Meanwhile, the response in Misfits is going to march it up this mid lane and try to apply pressure there. Take it down to about half health. The nice thing about the fact that they sent LeBlanc and Gnar forward is because these champions are so self-sufficient with the distortion and the hop that there's pretty much zero guarantee of any sort of flank from Fang Gaming as response.
And you can see them moving for that flank, but of course deciding to back off. Golden Glue resigning himself to picking up that pink ward, at least denying a little bit of vision here. Alberto quickly responding in kind on the same brush. So the focus on vision from these teams is something I like to see a lot, and definitely impressed with Fang Gaming's map movement. these teams, as we've gone forward, as we've said already, pretty much have their identities have really developed over time and really changed. We talked about in the beginning, the solo carries of Misfits were kind of Alex Each. Alex Each proved himself time and time again. But then we got to see Intense and Ramelia prove themselves, and even with Stixay, it feels like having a new impact as he's moved forward with this team. A little bit of lackluster Twitch play yesterday, but the Sivir working out well for him so far. Fang Gaming on the opposite side, though, really performing well and above what we expected, 14A especially. 2-0 and 2 on this new pick, dominating the jungle.
In really basic terms, this is the strong lane team fight team versus the smart team. And this isn't to say that Misfits haven't shown exceptional strategy or glances of brilliant strategy, or that Fang Gaming can't team fight and don't have strong laners. It's just kind of where these two teams are definitely weighted. Misfits, typically they just win their games because, frankly, they have superior laners to a majority of the challenger scene, and they just brute force through victories. When they need to come out with creative strategies or more mature jungle pathing, obviously they can rely on Alex, they can rely on Crumbzz to make those calls, and like you said, Ramelia and Intense, when he was their AD carry, have kind of shown RF has stepped forward and shown that he can be the carry. On the other side, Fang Gaming, yeah, they've shown sparks of brilliance with Golden Glue's assassin play and Latman, long-standing AD carry of the scene, but it's been their rotation play and their minion control and wave manipulation play that's really secured them this power spot in the finals here as they take their second dragon of the game.
And dragon control is so important in these close games. 5th dragon buff can be a deciding factor in team fights, and having a first dragon buff when someone else doesn't can also be deciding. We see Alex Each a quick double tap on that distortion to hop on out of that fight. Nunu happens to run the absolute 0. We'll have to see if that affects them. But, I mean, close games, dragons feel like they are everything, and the gold is just about dead even here. Fang Gaming behind by a slight margin, but making up for that with the dragon buffs.
Well, it's especially concerning because the prerequisite for Misfits to win a game was always, what, 5 dragons, Baron, Banner of Command.
You know, it's been so long since I've seen that strategy, but you're right. I mean, when they kind of struggle to break that inhibitor line, they always default to that strategy, as you said. And unless we expect a 70-minute game, they're really not going to be able to get 5 dragons here consecutively, especially with so much congestion here and so much the ability for Nunu to pretty much take anything away from them if left unattended. And really, once again, a lot of praise over to 14A to see him clear out the jungle once again. A very defensive role for him, but still having a massive impact on the map and a great change in style from his kind of standard aggressive early play.
Our legendary finally did clear out that pink ward that's been sitting there for about 10 minutes, so this is when everyone claps. This is
the little victory. Yeah, you're used to MSI where people are like, yeah, ward kill!
You kill that ward! No, the thing that I want to talk about that I'm super excited is the fact that Alex Each bought a Magi Soul Stealer on this LeBlanc here.
I mean, I mentioned it earlier in passing, but it didn't really have that many stacks earlier on. Now it's doing a little bit better. He has gotten a kill since then, so he now has 2 extra, up to 7. Along with the death cap, he just does so much damage right now. Even Brandon for the win, just getting ripped through. No magic resist, going down so quickly, and Alex Each absolutely lethal. And now Fang Gaming, very aware of this, appear determined to commit multiple members to the top side of the map to make sure Alex Each can't get anything else. This LeBlanc is already the snowball pick. I feel like when you pick up the Magi's, it just pushes that to a whole nother level.
I think the read here is, when you look across Fang Gaming, the most obtainable tower for them. Oh, Alex, though, flashing forward. Doesn't find it.
Gonna find anything. The hook, though, landing, baby, show it up. Alex could be in trouble with shots going down. Gonna show which one is the clone, which one is the real one. Latman grabbing a kill for himself. A rare misstep from Alex Each, an aggressive flash not paying off. And baby showing us once again why you should not let him have that Thresh pick. An excellent hook there.
Well, the read for Fang Gaming is the most obtainable tower is going to be the top tier tower because it's the last standing first tier tower. So obviously bot tower's down, mid tower's down. So the easiest one to get is going to be that top side. Alex was standing in the bush, understanding that Latman would be rotated up there to burn it really quickly. They take the free tower. In response, Misfits are working bottom.
Misfits not able to get too much damage out here. Sivir obviously very easily able to clear through these waves. Has finished that static shiv, but
oh, here comes Flank.
Alberto could be going in. Agony's Embrace going to be used. Not going to hit 14A. Going in. The Boomerang going to provide no slow as Nunu's just barely able to make it out of that one. Alberto clearing out the vision. Brandon for the win. Actually canceling that TP. So a pretty big cooldown used there, but Latman in 14A will make it out safely. No tier 2 towers have gone down quite yet.
And it's completely fine that Brandon for the win canceled his TP right there as more of just an insurance policy, as long as it's synced up with RF legendaries and there's no TP discrepancy as we start heading into the mid of this game, especially with Dragon, which I believe should pop up within the next 2 minutes and 30 seconds. The other thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, especially as we get more to these 5v5 team fights, is how Sivir and Evelynn really function. We saw that in that last skirmish engagement, Crumbzz was looking for a side flank, and that's what's really important with Eve. It's hard for her to go front to back in a traditional composition. She has to come from the side or come from behind and really abuse her stealth, just because obviously if she's running up to you, you're going to see her coming because she has that the auto range around her where her stealth will trigger to the enemy team. And that really is helpful when you have a Sivir on your team. It's almost like a Vlad. Obviously with the on the hunt, it just gives her so many more tools to make a successful flank and to get a successful engagement. Because this team actually doesn't have a ton of hard CC. I mean, effectively you've got the Gnar stun and that's about it.
And of course with that on the hunt and with that Evelynn Agony's Embrace, that slow combined with that speed up, it'll make it a lot easier for RF Legendary to land those Gnar ultimates. Something he's been, quite frankly, kind of inconsistent with in the past. We'll have to see if this is the game where he can step it up, where he can figure it out. Obviously in Mega Gnar form right now, not the best timing, but probably not intending to team fight. It's Fang Gaming now posture around the mid lane, but also so much vision on the bottom side, and Dragon spawning in just 1 minute.
AlphaDraft around the top side as well, looking for a possible pick of one of Fang Gaming's members to wander up and to clear out the massive wave he's created. Either that or he's going to commit to the top side and try poking down on the tower and use his distortion and his self-sufficient mobility to escape. Nice little cheeky play.
I like the split push strategy and already doing a decent amount of damage to those towers. May be able to take this one out. They are sending Brandon for the win up, but they have to be careful. He did finish that Spectre's Cowl, will mitigate some of the damage here, but I believe the tower is going to go down. AlphaDraft, if all else fails, you can always resort to the split push here.
And it's the threat, the fact that AlphaDraft can effectively 100-0 anyone as he tries to 100-0 Brandon for the win here, and does so quite successfully, tanking Maokai down to 50% HP, especially as the Dragon is live. And unfortunately, Fang Gaming aren't in a position to answer to anything, so they commit resources top to stop Alex. He gets the free tower anyway, and they don't transition into a Dragon, transition into a team fight, they just let it happen.
And keep in mind, Alex actually missed that ethereal chain, so while it looks like Brandon for the win made it out, barely managed to survive that one, if Alex had hit the first chain, that could have been a dead Maokai, so they really have to step carefully. And if Alex is starting to get to that point where they're going to have to send 2 members to stop him, or find a better defensive option, as even Golden Glue has been forced onto that kind of defensive Abyssal Scepter buy.
Are setting up right now for a possible Baron. I feel like if Misfits make a significant enough pick here in their next team fight, it could possibly transition to that Baron. They certainly have it prepped well enough, but they are starting to rotate down towards this Dragon.
AlphaDraft hopping in. He could finally engage here. They're ready to fight. Misfits have moved on to the Dragon. Mason engage 14A is going in for the steal. He's gonna get it too, Alberto. Slow fingers on that one. The level 14 Nunu happy to pick it up. And now, third Dragon going down, and the immediate ping down to Baron. Fang Gaming just cleaning up on Misfits here, taking everything they want.
And now freely moving in, clearing out of this vision. The reason why they're really able to do this is because not only did they get the Dragon, but likewise, Misfits had to respond to the massive waves that had been built up bottom. But now Alberto walks
Alberto caught out right into the hook. Gonna get taken down. The Agony's Embrace, not enough to stop that one. And they may be able to follow this up with Baron 14A. Not even bothering to come to that fight. AlphaDraft trying to find something. There's too many members stopping the engage here. This tanky front line unbreakable as of yet. AlphaDraft trying to find his way into the back. The Baron has gone down. Nunu's handling the absolute 0. This could get turned on them. RF Legendary. Mega Gnar finds the ult onto 14A. They will get this kill. He cannot find a way over the wall. He will go down. So AlphaDraft grabbing a couple extra stacks on that Medjai's. Back up to 7, but trading the Baron back. And Fang Gaming, this is an amazing performance from them.
So they secure the Baron. They do lose 2 kills, but the major objective is the fact that they maintained 3 Barons. So if they wanted to use one in every single lane, they still have the ability to do so.
It's just, Frank Fang Gaming are playing much better on a macro level than I really expected them to, and Alex Each, despite his amazing performance, despite his consistent CS lead, it just feels like the Misfits are struggling here. I don't think they expected this level of macro play coming in from Frank Fang Gaming, and neither did I.
Well, think about it this way. So we talked about how Alex Each, he's not really well known, at least in his time with Misfits, as being a big roaming mid laner. But if you look at kill participation right now, he's got 100% kill participation. So 5 out of the 5 kills he's been involved with, either 4 kills, 1 assist. So the fact that the guy who's not really well known in your team composition as a big roamer impacting the other lanes has had the most impact for the game kind of tells how different this is from Misfits' typical showing, especially because Crumbzz has only been involved in 1 kill. And typically, Crumbzz is the hinge on which Misfits find their success and find their explosive 5v5. So the inability to get Crumbzz going, maybe this champion pick isn't something that he's super comfortable with yet, maybe he's still experimenting with it, but it's definitely not the typical MO that Misfits have shown throughout the AlphaDraft tournament. Well, on the other side, Frank Fang Gaming, there continuously have been that really smart macro-based team. They're all about the wave manipulation, playing with different pressure points, making you give up an objective so they get things for free. Yeah, they did lose some towers for free, but they finally have evened it up by marching down the mid lane. But this is much more expected to their game, and they're playing much more on point for this finals.
Definitely something we did not expect. We saw that inner tower go down, not pushing too far forward with that Baron buff. Golden Glue resisting the temptation to dive in, as it's pretty much in his nature at this point in his career. So good to temper that aggression. And really the other thing, so I got a chance to talk to Cloud9 briefly about what they thought about the Misfits. If they made it to the finals, how would they prepare? If the Misfits made it to the finals, what would they expect? And pretty much what they said a variety of answers. And they said, we really need to find a way to lead in the early game. And one of the players said, yeah, and we really just can't let Alex each 1v5. And right now, a 4-1-1 LeBlanc, if there is a player in the AlphaDraft Challenger League who can set his team up for victory, who can set his team up for success, it is going to be Alex Each. And they have to give this LeBlanc a lot of respect. Solo split push LeBlanc is not something you expect, but if anyone can do it, it's going to be Alex Each.
I mean, and I understand and I agree that Alex Each does have a lot of power. I mean, obviously he's a huge veteran of the scene. This LeBlanc is very powerful. LeBlanc can never be taken lightly. But an issue is as far as picking out targets to kill. So Brenna for the win is going to be the obvious one that they'll send top to deal with any sort of side push that Alex Each will push forward. And now that his teleport's up, this offers a superior advantage because his team doesn't really rely on him as far as their hard engage. It's the more consistent hard engage because he has the Righteous Glory, but you still have the Death Sentence available as well as an Azir sec, you know, if Golden Glue wants to get super fancy. So the fact that you would be trading your 4-1 LeBlanc, so the guy who has 100% kill participation as well as all of that power of your team fight, for the 0, 2, and 3 Righteous Glory Maokai, I think is a very fair trade for Frank Fang Gaming as this Azir continues to level up and become more of a threat. So Frank Fang Gaming, I feel, could actually just try to commit on a fight. It's going to be really hard to lock down Misfits just because they have the on the hunt. But if they catch them, I think in this 4v4 without Alex Each, they would win.
We'll have to see. Stixay and the rest of the team moving into the top side of the jungle. We're not a little bit of vision here denying that Razor Sight buff from 14A, as he's been pretty diligent in that site control. We could see an engage here. Both teams ready to set up, and I really think that they're vulnerable to this flank if Misfits can find it. But Alex Each, this is uncharacteristic of him. I feel like he normally groups up in the mid game, and now he said he never leaves the mid lane, and now he's just going to any side lane he can just to avoid these fights. Their engagement has to be perfect. Alex almost has to delete someone before the fight happens just because Azir is so powerful right now. And we think about how Nunu always impacts the ADCs. We never really think about Nunu being really relevant for mages or your mid laners, but obviously Nunu is super important for Azir just because the attack speed on the Sand Soldiers is really relevant to his damage output. When you can see right now, Golden Glue has that Blood Boil buff ticking down, 1.3. With limited, only one piece of cooldown reduction itemized, no formal form of attack speed, but Blood Boil alone going to put him up to 1.3. So a pretty decent place to be, especially as 14A. I mean, that one's level 5 now, so a solid spot to be as they move in to take this dragon. And we could see the fight here. They're going to have to contest this one, and if not this one, the next. Alex Each on the backside, not finding anything, using both Sorry, a single distortion to get in there. No, both distortions to get in there. They're going to drop this one. They're going to find the engage. The Monsoon pushing them back. Emperor's Divide in response. They may try to find a way into the back line, but everyone on Misfits is running. Golden Glue does so much damage. Latman snagging a kill for himself. Alex each nipping at their heels, but not able to find a way into the back line. Locked out of this fight, and Frank Fang Gaming outplaying the Misfits in that exchange.
There was just no way for the Misfits to commit onto that fight again. It's so important that Eve looks for the flank right there. It was a good area to fight for RF Legendary if he had his Mega Gnar available. Although, hold on, because Brandon for the win. Nah, he's got distortion. He's cool.
Yeah, he's fine. Keep going.
it was such a brutal fight for Misfits to attempt to take. It's now the 4th Dragon. Obviously, the big thing about the 4th Dragon is it helps you burn through Baron, and since Frank Fang Gaming already had that, it's not as necessary, but it puts them that much closer to that 5 Dragon double buff. Oh my god, that
Alex each finding a massive chunk of damage, but trading his life for that one. Golden Glue will go down in the 1-for-1 exchange, but breaking the inhibitor line now on that side. Misfit, RF trying to find a way back in as well. The Gazir Tower more than happy to back up that retreat. They do break the inhibitor tower though, so Alex each finally able to find something back, but trading his life in kind means it's actually net down in stacks, down to 6 after that one.
I'm sure he totally thinks that's worth, though, just because he was able to save his inhibitor right there, which certainly is worth. Obviously, losing that would be a huge burden on them, especially as Baron comes live right this second. Do you remember when Legendary used to play? I'm trying to remember what it was. It was when Acadian played Yasuo and they had a Sivir composition. And so what they would
on Orianna as well was pretty crazy.
Exactly. So what they would do is they would send Acadian to these side lanes, and then as long as Sivir was with the core of the team, the remaining 4 members, they would just kind of run Cloud9 Tempest around. You could tell that Cloud9 Tempest, they were so much stronger, they wanted to fight, but they just couldn't catch Legendary, and so they would just create this giant distraction while Acadian took their entire base. I believe Cloud9 Tempest did win the fight, because eventually they just got on top of them. This is very similar to what the Misfits need to do now. Unless Alex Ish can get a pick, preferably on Golden Glue, before a team fight starts, Misfits will just lose. Their composition, they have to get almost a perfect engage. It has to be a wombo combo of Alberto getting a beautiful flank into like a 4-man Gnar ultimate. Just the win conditions, they're just so specific and very hard to align, especially against how fed and how powerful Golden Glue is on this champion right now. They need to almost stay together as 4, kind of drive Misfits around, and let Alex Ish do a split push, which is why we see him in the top lane looking for these picks.
Yeah, he's kind of just making a home for himself in that bush, and I mean, no one's coming to respond. Like, no one's on that top side of the map. They're happy to let that wave sit at even, and they're just going to push down the mid lane for this open inhibitor, and it feels like Misfits really aren't adapting very well on the fly, but we will have to see if Alex can get on the backside. They have started the Baron. Everyone's moving up. Gnar's TPing in. RF Legendary has Mega Gnar. He's going to find 5 with the engage. They're going to try to turn this one around. Watch what they can do. Emperor's Divide coming out. No one finding their way on the Latman or Golden Glue, though. And once again, Frank Fang Gaming, a perfect positioning, winning them the day. Alberto trying to make it out. Alex is trying to find something back, but not a single member has dropped yet. And it's a 3-for-nothing exchange. The perfect Emperor's Divide, the perfect frontline defense. Frank Fang Gaming destroying the Misfits.
And this is bad news bears for Misfits. We talked about how they would need the perfect engagement to perhaps come back in a 5v5, and I don't think you can get something better than that, a 5-man Mega Gnar ult onto that wall. This is going to be an easy cleanup and a free Baron for Frank Fang Gaming.
This is here just does so much damage. This Lucian's so far even, you could say, but so comfortable to just keep doing damage from the back line, not really feeling vulnerable at all, despite the relatively lower attack range. Still just able to dish out so much, and you're right, RF Legendary found the perfect engage, but it didn't feel like enough, and Misfits, I'll say it again, it feels like a rare misstep from them, and Frank Fang Gaming performing out of their minds, now pushing in with this Baron buff. 2 minutes left on Dragon. They're going to be able to secure this 5th one, and I don't think there's anything Misfits can do about it.
Still have 1 minute and 30 seconds to make something happen, though. Frank Fang Gaming, multiple pings to that bottom. They did have a large wave. Obviously, if they're able to procure the bottom inhibitor, that would mean that should this game go to 3 Barons, that the 3rd one would surely be free, playing with different pressure points. However, in the top side, Alex again, split push LeBlanc.
I don't think it's going to be enough this time. You can't really race a Baron buff, and you're not going to be able to kill that Maokai, even if you can't clear the waves. They're pushing in. The open inhibitor is in the mid lane. They're not going to go for it, though, as they press in here. Alberto on the backside. This is the last chance for the Misfits. They need to find something. The turret does drop. RF building up that rage slowly. Will he find another engage? No flash this time around. They're resigned to backing off here. Maokai trying to stop the little block port. Is going to find him. Maybe able to take down Alex Each as he goes in there. Sapling will be up in a moment. Maokai not able to find that one. Pulling coming out as well. And confident moves from Fang Gaming. Securing the first inhibitor. Moving up to the second. They could be caught here though. Verso on the back side. Will they find the engage? Nope. Just a quick 2 inhibitors for Fang Gaming. Once again, getting the objectives they wanted completely uncontested.
I mean, frankly, at this point, Misfits need to be thinking about what they're going to change up for the next game and how they're going to look to continue the rest of this series. This should be a pretty systematic victory for Fang Gaming, especially because contesting this this dragon as they have complete vision control would be absolute suicide, although we do see Alberto looking for a flank.
Brandon for the win with a teleport engage. Golden Glue could be in trouble if he goes down here. It could change everything. A beautiful absolute zero. There is nothing for Crumbzz in that engage. Alex Each, doesn't matter where you go, getting run down by this lineup. And now Fang Gaming should be able to push down this middle lane and potentially end the game here. Looking so confident. Once again, Misfits trying to find something. But 14A, Golden Glue, just playing out of their minds.
Yeah, gorgeous performance across all of Fang Gaming, and again, the question is, what do Misfits change to kind of change up their success, and will Fang Gaming continue down the same path?
We will definitely have to see. Now, coming into Game 2, what needs to change here for the Misfits, and what do they need to do to come out on top?
They needed to get Crumbzz on an early playmaking jungler. So we said this before. It's not that Alex Each can't roam, because obviously he has a long-standing career where he's done just that, but inside Misfits, he's more of the 1v1 mid laner. So the fact that he had 100% kill participation kind of says that nothing got rolling, and it was the fact that Alex, who never roams, was all of the kills is an issue. If Crumbzz is on a jungle where he can make plays early, where he can get his side lanes going, a lot more success.
We'll definitely have to see how they adapt here, if they take take your advice, take your strategies. And if they figured that out for themselves, of course, Fang Gaming, I feel like the general consensus in these Best of X series is that when you win a game, you don't have to change anything. Do you think that's true for Fang Gaming in this case?
Their composition was pretty standard and very reactionary. Azir was a big power pick that we saw at MSI, so if anything's going to be changed or taken away, I definitely think it's going to be on that Azir, either banned or priority picked early. Otherwise, everything else was pretty staple and pretty standard. Nunu, Maokai, Lucian, Thresh, things like that. Thresh is obviously an easy answer to Jono, Lucian a very easy answer to Sivir, especially when Kalista and Jinx are banned, so I think it's the Azir pick. I'd be really shocked if Fang Gaming got that pick again.
Well, they are going to be on the blue side this time around, so if it's available, they will be able to first pick it. We'll have to see what they decide to do, though, guys. We're going to go into a brief break. Misfits got to talk strategy, figure out what they want to do next. The same, of course, for Fang Gaming. In the meantime, head on over to wellplayed.org/giveaway. Check out those sweet Razer peripherals, the clickety-clack, the T-boards, push to talk, whatever. We've been through it. We'll be back in a few minutes, guys. See you in a few.